The most expensive items ever featured on Pawn Stars probably cost more than the pawn shop itself. Now that's a lot of dough. After more than a decade in the business, the guys have definitely come across some major purchases. So, today we're diving into the top 25 most expensive deals made on Pawn Stars. We'll be covering everything from the highest valued items to the biggest buys and sales ever seen on the hit History Channel show. Stick around. You won't want to miss this. George Washington's three-piece Colonial suit, $2,500,000. In celebration of Pawn Stars' 500th episode, the team decided to shake things up and go after some big-ticket items. Rick, always on the lookout for something extraordinary, headed out to meet with a private collector named Brian. What was on the table? Presidential memorabilia, but Rick had no idea what kind of historical treasure he was about to see. When Brian revealed the item, it wasn't just any piece of history. It was a three-piece suit worn by none other than George Washington himself, dating all the way back to the 1750s. Rick was in awe. Seeing a suit once worn by the Revolutionary War general and the first president of the United States was a collector's dream. Rick immediately knew this was the kind of item that could become a centerpiece in the shop's collection. However, Brian, who had acquired the suit at an auction, wasn't eager to part with it. He threw out an asking price of $3 million, a steep price even for someone with Rick's resources. Despite Rick's fascination and his willingness to make a deal, Brian wasn't budging. After some negotiation, Brian lowered the price to $2.5 million, but that was as far as he would go. Rick, weighing the risk and the hefty price tag, ultimately had to walk away empty-handed. O.J. Simpson's white Ford Bronco, $1,250,000. One of the most infamous celebrity vehicles in history is O.J. Simpson's white Ford Bronco, the same vehicle he was in the day the LAPD was set to arrest him. When Simpson learned the police were on their way, he panicked and fled, with his friend Al Cowlings behind the wheel. The slow-speed chase that followed was broadcast live across the nation, with nearly 130 million viewers glued to their screens, watching as Simpson attempted to evade the police. Years later, when the opportunity arose to buy this infamous piece of American pop culture, Rick couldn't help but be intrigued. However, the owner had a hefty price tag in mind, $1.25 million. Even for a piece of history as significant as this, Rick had to weigh his options. It was a rare opportunity to own an iconic symbol, but the price was steep. In the end, despite how tempting it was, Rick decided he had to pass, letting the Bronco slip through his fingers. Robosaurus, $1 million. There aren't many things that have come through the doors of the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop that were nearly impossible to turn down, but Robosaurus was definitely one of them. Robosaurus is a 40-foot-tall, fire-breathing robotic Tyrannosaurus Rex that can crush cars with its massive mechanical hands. Built in 1989 by Doug Malowicki, this legendary robot has made several TV appearances and was even close to getting its own NBC series in 1992. When it was brought to the pawn shop, the owner had a jaw-dropping asking price of $5 million. Rather than risk insulting the creator with a lowball offer, Rick and the team decided not to make a counteroffer. As tempting as it was, they had to let Robosaurus walk away. The Beatles' original contract, $1 million. When it comes to music, the Beatles are easily one of the top 5 greatest bands of all time. Their songs are timeless and still being played in 2019. With over 600 million albums sold worldwide and 20 Billboard #1 hits, their impact on music is undeniable, dating back nearly 60 years when they first formed. But none of that success would have happened without their official contract. Signed in 1962 by John Lennon, George Harrison, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and their manager Brian Epstein, this document marked the beginning of their legendary career. The original contract, the only one in existence today, was brought into the pawn shop, and the seller wanted a cool $1 million in cash, no negotiation. It was too steep, and the shop had to pass on this priceless piece of music history. Jimi Hendrix's 1963 Fender Stratocaster guitar, $750,000. One of the most incredible items to ever come through the doors of the pawn shop was a 1963 Fender Stratocaster electric guitar that belonged to none other than Jimi Hendrix. The serial number on the back was the key to confirming its authenticity, as this specific guitar was well documented as one Hendrix had played. The owner knew it was valuable, but was stunned when the shop's guitar expert valued it between $750,000 and $1 million. What started as a truly exciting moment quickly took a turn. Hearing those figures, Rick kicked off negotiations with a lowball offer of $500,000. He bumped it up to $600,000, but the owner wasn't having it. He knew the guitar was worth far more, and the offer wasn't even close to what it could fetch at auction. Feeling insulted, the owner decided to walk out, holding on to the legendary guitar firmly in his hands. JFK Cigar Humidor, $575,000. There aren't many cigar humidors that once belonged to former President John F. Kennedy, so when one comes into the shop, it's definitely a big deal. This particular box even contained some untouched cigars that had belonged to him, making it all the more intriguing. However, determining its true value would require some careful research. When the humidor arrived at the store, Rick recognized its potential and had a figure in mind. After some tough negotiations, they struck a deal for $60,000. Later, Sotheby's auctioned off a similar humidor for an impressive $575,000. That pretty much confirms that this item is worth every penny. Original, Where the Wild Things Are artwork, $310,000. As Pawn Stars continues to grow year after year, so does Rick's fortune. He's evolved from making interesting deals right in his shop to seeking out private sellers and local dealers for incredibly rare and unique items that can fetch astronomical prices. One standout moment came when a dealer approached Rick with original artwork from the beloved children's book, Where the Wild Things Are. This artwork is exceptionally rare and holds a special place in pop culture, making it a highly sought-after piece. The dealer initially asked for $350,000, but Rick saw an opportunity and offered $250,000 instead. After some negotiation, they reached a deal, adding another impressive item to Rick's collection. Mary Ford's 1961 Gibson SG Les Paul guitar, $150,000. Guitars have always been some of the most valuable items to pass through pawn shops, especially those from the iconic rock era. When one particularly striking guitar arrived at the shop, it quickly caught Rick's attention. The owner proudly shared that it belonged to his Aunt Mary, who played it alongside her husband, the legendary Les Paul himself. This moment stands out as one of the most memorable in Pawn Stars history. They were looking at a 1961 Gibson SG Les Paul guitar, an instrument not only rich in musical history but also personally linked to its creator. It felt like having Babe Ruth's grandson walk in with a signed rookie card. To confirm its authenticity and value, Rick brought in an expert who assessed the guitar at nearly $150,000. After some negotiation, they struck a deal for $90,000. Ides of March, Roman coin, $150,000. Some stories seem almost too incredible to be true, and the tale of the Ides of March Roman coin is certainly one of them. This remarkable artifact, which has existed for nearly 2,000 years, was brought into the shop by a collector named John. He had acquired the coin back in the mid-'80s from another collector. When John expressed interest in making a deal, he set his asking price at $150,000. To ensure the coin's authenticity and value, Rick brought in a renowned coin expert. Upon examining the piece, the expert confirmed Rick's suspicions, stating that the coin was indeed worth at least $150,000. Feeling confident about his asking price, John stood firm, stating he wouldn't go lower than $140,000. Despite the expert's endorsement, the two sides couldn't come to an agreement, and in the end, John left the shop with the coin still in his possession. 4 1-kilo gold bars, $128,000. You just heard about Rick's big purchase of 200 pounds of silver, but let's not forget the time he encountered a seller with 4 1-kilogram gold bars, an item that looked straight out of an action movie. These gold bars were stunning, and for the Harrison family, who don't come across gold bars every day, this was a rare find. While they haven't managed to buy every high-value item that has come through the shop, this deal stands out as one of their largest. Rick and the team successfully negotiated to acquire the 4 bars, and they quickly flipped them for an impressive $128,000. It was a thrilling moment for everyone involved. 200 pounds of silver, $111,000. When a customer arrived with a dolly piled high with 3,000 ounces of silver in bars and coins, the Harrisons knew they had a significant deal on their hands. Given the hefty amount of money involved and the risk of a scammer passing off a fake silver bar made from another metal, Rick took the necessary precautions. He drilled into the center of the bars to confirm they were made of pure silver. "Testing silver takes some effort, but it's not rocket science," Rick explained, demonstrating how to check the silver with nitric acid. If the silver he tested turned a milky white color when exposed to the acid, it was authentic. Once he confirmed its purity, Rick bought the lot for around market rate, spending approximately $111,000. It was a major acquisition for the shop. Stephen Stills' 1941 Gibson SJ200 guitar, $105,000. Stephen Stills, the legendary guitarist from the rock group Crosby, Stills and Nash, had his name attached to a remarkable guitar that walked into the shop one day. It didn't take long for Jesse, the local guitar expert, to authenticate the instrument, a rare 1941 Gibson SJ200. He was clearly impressed and made sure to let the owner know just how special it was. The guitar itself was valued at around $75,000, but the fact that it had belonged to Stills pushed its worth up an additional $20,000. After the owner left, negotiations kicked off. He was hoping to get $90,000, but Rick countered with an offer of $85,000. They eventually reached a deal, sealing the transaction. Rick has a particular love for guitars, especially because they tend to sell quickly at pawn shops, making them a valuable addition to the inventory. 1922, proof piece high relief dollar coin, $100,000. One of the rarest coins in American history is the 1922 proof piece high relief dollar coin. Any serious coin collector would tell you that not only is this one of the most extraordinary coins you could find on Pawn Stars, but they would also jump at the chance to own a proof piece dollar coin, and not just this particular one. It's a legendary piece in the world of numismatics. The seller came in with an interesting story. He had won the coin in a card game and was looking to get $20,000 for it. However, once an expert examined it, the value skyrocketed to around $100,000. After some negotiation, Rick settled on a price of $80,000, and both sides walked away satisfied with the deal. 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl championship ring, $100,000. One day, former New England Patriots defensive back Brock Williams walked into the shop with a rare gem, his commemorative 2001 Super Bowl championship ring. It's not every day that a Super Bowl ring makes its way through the doors of the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop, so Rick was practically buzzing with excitement the moment he laid eyes on it. This particular ring was especially collectible, adorned with an impressive 143 diamonds and crafted from 14-karat white gold. Notably, it was the first Super Bowl ring to surpass the NFL's expense limit, making it even more significant. Recognizing its value, Rick arranged to buy the ring for $2,000 as collateral for a loan. Unfortunately, Brock never returned to reclaim it, and the ring has since appreciated dramatically in value, now estimated at around $100,000. It's a prime example of how sometimes unique treasures find a permanent home in the shop. 1932. Lincoln Roadster, $95,000. It's a rare occasion when Rick finds himself making a deal that involves trading actual gold, especially for a stunning vintage vehicle like a 1932 Lincoln Roadster. When Uncle Phil walked into the shop with this classic car, Rick couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement at the prospect of adding such a unique piece to his inventory. Uncle Phil had acquired the Lincoln from a museum a few years prior and was adamant about getting $100,000 for it, no less. While Rick could appreciate the car's beauty and historical significance, he knew the market for such a specialized item was limited, making it a challenging sell. Initially, Uncle Phil stood firm on his asking price. However, the dynamic shifted when Rick proposed the idea of trading gold instead of cash. After some back-and-forth discussions, they finally struck a deal for $95,000. Fab Spider Brooch, $80,000. In one of the most unforgettable moments in Pawn Star's history, a seller walked into the shop with a stunning piece of jewelry, completely unaware of its true value. This seller had inherited the spider brooch from a relative and was looking to part with it for just a couple of $1,000s. As soon as Rick laid eyes on the brooch, his excitement was palpable. He practically sprang from behind the counter, struggling to contain his enthusiasm. It was clear he recognized that he was holding something exceptionally valuable, even if the owner didn't have a clue about its significance. After a careful examination, Rick made a surprising offer of $15,000, which stunned both the seller and the crew. While it would have been easy for him to take advantage of the situation, Rick chose to be somewhat honest with her. Later, an appraisal revealed that the brooch was actually worth a staggering $80,000. Bronze O.J. Simpson Statue, $80,000. One of the most unique items ever to come through the doors of Pawn Stars was brought in by none other than rap superstar Flavor Flav, the man who famously popularized wearing a wall clock around his neck. The statue he presented had a special place in his home, having once stood by the pool at his infamous Rockingham Avenue residence in Los Angeles. When Flavor Flav walked into the shop, he was hopeful it would fetch $125,000. He had originally received the statue as a gift during a radio interview where the station decided to present it to him. Despite its interesting backstory, negotiations didn't go anywhere because Flavor Flav was firm on his asking price. Ultimately, no deal was struck, and the statue left with him as he stood by his $125,000 request. 2014 Herz GT Mustang, $75,000. The 2014 Herz GT Mustang is a rare gem, with only 150 ever built. The first 10 models were exclusively given to Hertz VIPs and company executives. This particular GT Mustang is also notable for being the only one equipped with a 6-speed manual transmission. To truly put it to the test, Rick invited NASCAR driver Joey Logano to take it for a spin on the Las Vegas NASCAR track, where Joey really pushed the car to its limits. Given its rarity, the Mustang has quickly become one of the most sought-after GT models in recent years. Joey estimated its value at around $75,000, which is where the seller began negotiations. Rick kicked things off with an offer of $60,000, holding firm on that price. After some back and forth, Rick maintained his stance, and eventually they struck a deal at $60,000. 1932 Ford Roadster Model B, $75,000. When Rick made a house call to inspect a seller's 1932 Ford Roadster Model B during Season 7 of Pawn Stars, he didn't expect to end up buying it. He brought his son along for the visit, and as they both tried to climb into the car, they quickly realized just how small it was, not exactly practical for their everyday needs. To get a better sense of the car's value, Rick called in Danny, his go-to expert on custom vehicles. Danny confirmed that this beauty was worth around $75,000. After a bit of back and forth with the seller, Rick began negotiating. It was a tense process, but they ultimately agreed on a price of $68,250. Not a bad deal at all. 1961, Vic Flick's Fender Stratocaster guitar, $70,000. It's not every day that the original owner of a guitar walks into the shop looking to sell it. So when Vic Flick strolled in with his guitar, the staff had no idea who he was, except for the guitar expert. As it turned out, Vic Flick is the legendary musician who taught some of the greats, including Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. Just picture that. A man who claims to have taught one of rock's most iconic guitarists, bringing his own guitar for Rick to buy. It was a truly unique moment in the show's history. Once Rick confirmed Vic's credentials, he jumped at the chance and bought the guitar for a cool $55,000. 1915 Panama Pacific Octagonal gold coin, $70,000. Rick doesn't just wait around in his office or the shop for cool items to come to him. In recent years, he's taken to the road, traveling to various events to scout items that he can buy and later sell to private buyers he already has in mind. One such treasure he sought out was the rare 1915 Panama Pacific Octagonal gold coin, which he found at Florida's largest coin show. During the show, Rick came across two of these coins and managed to negotiate with the owner, persuading him to lower his asking price from a firm $70,000 to $67,050. After sealing the deal, Rick was excited to bring the coin back to sell to a buyer he had lined up. 1554 Spanish gold bar from a shipwreck, $50,000. Over the last 600 years, countless ships have met their fate in the ocean, many of them Spanish vessels. Rick had previously purchased a treasure from a 1715 shipwreck and was now eyeing an even older artifact, a gold bar said to be from a Spanish shipwreck in 1554. The owner stumbled upon this gold bar while cleaning out his attic, realizing he had something potentially valuable on his hands. After learning that its melt value was around $24,000, Rick kicked off negotiations. He eventually offered the owner $35,000, which the owner happily accepted. As it turned out, the bar was later appraised at a value of $50,000. 1842, 5th edition Book of Mormon, $40,000. Pawn Stars boasts a roster of experts specializing in everything from autographs to antique jewelry, but one stands out as a celebrity in her own right. Rebecca Romney, the manager of Bauman Rare Books in Las Vegas. After appearing in several episodes as a rare books expert, she quickly became an internet sensation and is now highly respected on the show. During one memorable moment, she was brought in to evaluate a 5th edition copy of the Book of Mormon. To everyone's surprise, it was valued at $40,000, leading Rick to strike a deal with the owner for $24,000. Poland's Order of the White Eagle, $30,000. To fully appreciate this item, it helps to have a grasp of European history, particularly from 1795, when Poland was divided into 3 sections, with Russia claiming the largest portion. The emblem of Poland, a white eagle, has represented the nation since the 1300s. However, when Russia took control, they incorporated this symbol into their own 2-headed eagle emblem, which appears at the bottom of the piece. So while this item is Polish in heritage, it reflects the complex history of its ownership under Russia, resulting in a stunning piece that rivals Fabergé quality. Rick mentioned that he bought it for $6,000, only to discover its value was at least $30,000. The Egyptian Cartonnage mummy mask, $30,000. If only we could have Dr. Phineas Castle pop into Pawn Stars once an episode to share his insights on ancient artifacts, provided he's not off on a safari somewhere. With his flamboyant fashion and incredible mustache, it's hard not to believe everything he says. When he was called in to authenticate a customer's ancient Egyptian mummy mask, it took him just moments to confirm its authenticity. He estimated its value at around $22,500, noting its uniqueness could drive the price even higher among collectors. Corey was eager to add this remarkable piece to the shop, ultimately agreeing to the asking price of $30,000 to make it his own. And there you have it, the jaw-dropping stories behind some of the most expensive buys on Pawn Stars. What do you think about the incredible deals that Rick and the crew managed to pull off? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you're new. Don't forget to hit that post notification bell so you never miss our exciting uploads. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.